The Falcons would lose by the exact same score I predicted they'd win by. Hey everybody, how's it going? Even though Lance confessed and Manti was bamboozled, I'm obviously going to start with the Falcons first. So I'll just go ahead and do that. What's up, fellas? It's not like you didn't put up a good fight at first. You were up 17, at home, stomping Frisco. Then, slowly, you let them come back. Like you always do. I tried to act surprised, but that second half goose egg of yours was all too familiar. Even going back to 2010, the Falcons' total in the second half of their last 3 playoff exits is just 7 points altogether. And even though they lost Michael Turner, this one was different. Because it was against a quarterback making only his 9th career start, who directed 3 consecutive touchdown drives at one point during the game. I feel sorry for you. Pity, but not sympathy. Matt Ryan and Joe Flacco's careers have mirrored each other, but while Ryan's numbers are far superior, Flacco has shown up in the playoffs. I've gone on record about the Ravens QB before, and I'm not really impressed with him overall. But when Ray Lewis announced he would retire a few weeks ago, I really believed the team would step up for him, and they did Sunday. So it doesn't matter that Flacco used to be sorry. In non-Southern news, the Ravens are my team, so I secretly rejoice. The Super Bowl poses an interesting matchup of quarterbacks that have caught fire, but I'm going to do my research on this one and get back to you next week. Last week, I promised to look at our teams in the NBA, so I'll start from the top and work my way down. I wondered at the beginning of the season if Russell Westbrook would be able to share again, and he has, motoring OKC to the top of the league. He's managed to bring his assist total back to 8 a game while still scoring the same amount as last year. That said, he's still shooting a little bit more than the best scorer in the league. Who's on his team? Westbrook actually shoots a quarter of the Thunder's total shot count, but how can you argue with the results? At the top of the NBA in scoring and tied for the best record in the league is a good place to be. The San Antonio Spurs are in familiar territory, comfortably in the upper half of the Western Conference. But these aren't your slightly older sibling Spurs anymore. The Spurs are already 3rd in the league in scoring and 1st in assists. Their transformation is complete. And they've been doing most of it on the road. Starting in February, they'll play 19 of their final 33 games at home, where they're 18-2 this season. I might actually try to catch Spurs games more often. Said this guy, never. The Memphis Grizzlies were on fire to start the season, but they've been on ice since and slid to the middle of the pack. The Grizzlies lost O.J. Mayo's scoring and they're a bottom 5 scoring team, but they're holding teams to less than 90 points a game. These aren't your slightly older cousins, Grizzlies. Whatever happened to good old Sharif Abdul-Rahim? The Grizz picked up Mike Conley and he's doing well leading the team in assists and steals, but he'll need to find his teammates more often if they want to stay in the upper echelon. Memphis is also suspect on the road, a trait they share with the Miami Heat. I'm not really worried about the Big 3 in South Beach. They're playing slightly above average and still sit atop a bland Eastern Conference. But they still haven't figured out a consistent teammate for Chris Bosh in the backcourt. All of Miami's options at the position have underwhelmed and done so to the point where they've now signed free agent Chris Anderson to a 10-day contract. The Birdman! Bosh doesn't even lead the team in rebounding, where they rank dead last in the league. That lead belongs to LeBron, who's also leading the champs in 3 other categories. I feel like shoring up this need is critical if the Heat plan on a repeat. It's bound to be a factor in a future 7-game series. I said the Atlanta Hawks would be mediocre, and at 5 spots below the Heat, I'd say that's a fairly accurate description. They're mainly a beneficiary of the NBA's worst division, but even that won't save them if they don't act quickly. Consistent guard play was a question for the Hawks heading into the season, and thanks to Lou Williams' ACL injury, it still is. After acquiring Williams, he had been giving Atlanta solid minutes, but the open spot gives John Jenkins a chance to be a solid contributor. The Hawks needed a shot in the arm, and at this point, they'll either come together or fall apart. Orlando, Charlotte, and Washington all find themselves headed to a similar destination, the draft lottery. Orlando is the overachiever of the bunch and will definitely be a fixture as the trade deadline approaches. Funny side note, they're also only 3 games behind and 1-0 against the Lakers. I knew Charlotte would still be a mess, but at least they've improved, while the Wizards are backsliding. Trevor Ariza, Nene, and John Wall have all battled injuries, and things haven't materialized at all in DC. The franchise appears headed towards its 3rd consecutive top 6 pick in the draft and the 5th year out of the postseason. There's always next year! Houston has been a pleasant surprise. I didn't think they'd make the playoffs, and I still don't. but if not for the recent 7-game slide, I'd have to reconsider. If Minnesota gets healthy and the Lakers figure things out, I'm not sure they can hold on to that 8th playoff spot. One thing I am sure of, Houston has no problem scoring the ball. Their offense is awesome for every bit that their defense is awful, and the only reason they've survived at this point. The Rockets could definitely use a boost from their new long-term investment, Jeremy Lin, on both ends of the court. Finally, the New Orleans Pelicans are at least another year out, but they're finding unique talent already on their ball club. Of course, Anthony Davis is the future star, and Austin Rivers is a solid backup for Eric Gordon, but who saw Gravis Vasquez coming? The 30-year player out of Maryland caught onto the starting lineup last year and has exploded for 9 assists a game through 40 games. That's 3rd in the league, and if New Orleans can wake up their scorers, this is a dangerous team going forward. Okay, that's the show, but I'll be back next Monday for Super Bowl week, so stay logged on to RandleSportsReport.com for all your Southern sports needs. So until that time, I'm Seth Hagen, and that's your wrap-up for Week 21. We'll see you later.